what this short is about is embracing work in progress. And what do I mean by that? Recently, I was at a wedding and I was sitting next to someone, and when he found out what I did around supporting leaders who are wanting to have a positive impact at this time, he said to me, you are the person that I really do need to speak to. And I was like, okay. He says, I have a question for you. I'm like, okay, what's your question? And what the question was, I'm thinking about buying an electric car, but I'm just not sure if that's the right thing to do now because of its impact on the planet. And so, I'm kind of wondering, should I just go ahead with that? I'm thinking probably not, because ultimately it's not the perfect solution. And so I'll tell you what I said to him, but I want to put that in a bigger piece, because I'm seeing this happen a lot in terms of the conversations that are being had, which is, well, I'm really not sure I'm going to do anything. It's like I have a choice between doing nothing or doing this thing that's not perfect around that probably will help in some shape or form around this whole sustainability, climate change, but it's just not perfect. And, it's not probably going to be viable for the next 5 or 10 years. And I'm seeing a lot of people who are being caught in this dilemma, which is, well, shall I go for this solution that is not ideal? Or, shall I do something, right? Or shall I just do nothing at all, ultimately? And so really it is this dilemma of, okay, I do nothing or I do this thing that's imperfect. And so a lot of people are getting caught in that, and as a result, they're not doing very much. And I don't have all the answers on that. I'm not perfect around this, but I wanted to share what I actually said to him, because I think there's a piece here where we need to fundamentally change our mindset around all of this. And what I mean by that is that in terms of this new world that is emerging, we have to start thinking not in terms of 5 or 10 year plans, but we have to start thinking as entrepreneurs. The reality is we do not have any of the perfect solutions. The reality is we don't have any maps for those, and it will probably take quite a while to get any maps going. The thing is, in the meantime, we are at crisis point. If we do nothing, then actually we are going to have even more of a problem down the line. So doing nothing is actually not an option. But what we need to do is to start thinking as entrepreneurs. And as entrepreneurs, you do something. You start walking and you rapid prototype and you keep pivoting until you start to create and are able to create something that works and is viable in the longer term. And what is happening now is we all have to become, in some ways, these entrepreneurial-minded people. And this is more in this idea of we're going to have to accept that what we will come up with initially is just not going to be perfect. But it might mitigate some of the things that are happening right now, which buys us time in the long run. And it does mean that we may create some things, as I said, that aren't perfect, and we're going to have to keep evolving ourselves and keep transforming ourselves to create better solutions as we walk. It's not about waiting until, yes, we have every duck in the row and we've solved the whole problem, and then we start to walk. But if you think about that, that's often how we're taught to do it, isn't it? We're taught that we have to find the perfect solution, and then we create our linear step-by-step plan towards that solution. But that is simply not how we can navigate this period, because this is a time of innovation, of incubation, and we have to do it on the fly. So what I said to him is, well, it's probably not the perfect solution, but maybe it's what we need to do for now, so that we can cut emissions to a certain level, which ultimately means we have more time to keep incubating and creating better solutions. And I think that piece is a fundamental shift that we all need to make, which is how can we be all together innovators, pioneers, and creating new solutions, constantly pivoting and creating together as we go along, without having maybe that perfect one solution that's going to save us all. And so my question to you is, how would you do things differently if you were to accept that mindset? I'm also seeing a lot of people getting a lot of criticism going because, that solution is just not perfect. And as a result, what it's creating for a lot of people is just fundamental paralysis, because it's kind of like, well, that solution is not perfect, that solution is not perfect, that solution is not perfect, that solution is not perfect. And so it's almost like we have the will to do something, but because none of the solutions are perfect, we're doing nothing. And as a result, we're actually not doing anything to even buy us enough time to be able to innovate, create, incubate new things. And so what I'm asking you to do, and I'm asking you to think about, is how can you start embracing maybe solutions that aren't perfect, but at least means you are walking. You are starting to walk. And at the same time, it's about embracing those, but fully committed to being part of this transition and to enabling this transition, right? Because I'm also seeing quite a lot of people like, well, I'll just do this bit and then it's all fine, right? They don't even embrace that it's not a perfect solution. It's kind of like, hey, I've asked someone to plant some trees somewhere, and that's it, right? I can fly around the world as much as I want. And that is not what I'm talking about. It's kind of acknowledging that no solution is perfect. So we're constantly aware of ultimately integrating lots of different solutions together. But within that context, we are fully committed to enabling the change as much as we possibly can, and ourselves finding creative, innovative solutions. I was reading one story in the last few days of someone who had gone on holiday, and he'd chosen to go by train instead of flying with his family in order to reduce emissions. And what had happened is, in his workplace, there had been a new policy that if you choose to travel by train, you get an extra day's holiday in order to be able to enable the fact that probably that journey will take longer. And so just notice, how that is part of that full commitment around, hey, we can find more creative solutions, more innovative solutions. Maybe nothing's perfect, but we can really find different ways of looking at this. Just like, okay, I'll give you an extra day's holiday, because that means that it's viable in a different way to be able to go on holiday by train in a way that maybe going by plane, because it would cut on the length of the journey, you make it easier for people. So we want to be having this full commitment to the transition, and we want to be innovative, really thinking up new ways and new ideas, and contributing to that as much as possible. And at the same time, accepting that probably this is a phase where nothing's going to be perfect. And that's also okay. But we are going to do our best within this non-perfect piece. And what will happen is we will take these imperfect actions, which hopefully will cause some reduction in terms of emissions. So we're not making the situation exponentially worse. And what it means is it will buy us some time, as long as we keep incubating and as long as we keep doing really our best, not kind of just bargaining our way out of it, pretending and thinking that the strict minimum is also going to be enough. But it is a time to be embracing imperfect actions so that we keep walking. And what I find is, if you walk, it's a bit like when you go on a walk. At the beginning of the walk, you imagine it's going to be a certain way. And then you may get, 20% of the walk in, and suddenly you see a different view and you see a different perspective that has you have an idea for something that you wouldn't have had before. So that piece about starting to walk, even based on imperfect action, is actually essential for us to be able to come up with new ideas and see things differently, and as a result, incubate things in a different way.